Hey there, all you curious minds. Welcome back. Today, we're taking a deep dive into how the Sacred Atlantean Brotherhood views life.
Oh, yeah, this should be interesting.
We're going to be looking at excerpts from their book, Life's Movie, The Eternal Script of the Atlantean Brotherhood. And get this,
Okay.
the book proposes that life isn't really ours to own, but more like a movie.
A movie.
Yeah. Directed by some kind of cosmic force, and we're the light being projected.
Now, that's a pretty radical concept, isn't it? It
Yeah.
really challenges a lot of conventional ideas about life. Like, why are we here? What about suffering?
Yeah, what's the deal with all that?
And even the concept of time itself.
Well, the book definitely throws the typical ideas about linear time out the window.
Oh, absolutely. The Atlanteans see time as cyclical, like a spiral. They see life as this constantly looping film reel with the same light source projecting all these different scenes.
So the light itself doesn't change, just the images it's casting.
Exactly. Picture it. Imagine a film reel. We are that light.
Yeah.
Unchanging. Even though all these different experiences are being projected, it's a pretty fascinating way to think about the soul's journey.
So does that mean they're saying that we as souls aren't here to learn and grow, but just to remember our true nature, which is unchanging?
Yes. And they have this powerful phrase in the book to illustrate this.
Hmm.
As it was in the beginning, so it is now and ever shall be.
Whoa.
But hold on. This isn't some kind of religious decree.
Okay.
It's more a reflection of this cyclical view of time that they have.
Yeah.
And it really challenges, that common idea that we need to constantly improve ourselves.
Yeah, always striving for something more.
What if the real journey is about self-discovery, about remembering who we truly are at our core?
I like that. So we're not just characters in this cosmic film, we're the light itself.
That's right.
But then they bring up this idea of detachment.
Yes.
And so is this the same kind of detachment we usually think of?
Like being emotionally distant.
Yeah.
Not quite.
Yeah.
That's a great question, though, and this is actually one of the most interesting parts of what the Atlanteans teach.
Oh.
They're definitely not advocating for apathy or indifference.
Yeah.
True detachment to them is recognizing that we are the screen.
The screen.
Yeah, the screen on which life's movie is playing.
Yeah.
Not the characters, not the story itself.
So even though we're the screen, we can still experience the full range of emotions.
Right.
We can still engage with the movie. It's like when you get totally engrossed in a good film, even though you know it's not real.
Absolutely.
You still laugh, you cry, you get caught up in the suspense.
That's a fantastic analogy.
Yeah.
We can let ourselves feel those emotions, experience all the highs and lows, but without getting completely lost in the story. The Atlanteans would say all the things in life, our jobs, our relationships, even our struggles.
Yeah.
It's all like divine CGI.
Divine CGI.
It looks incredibly realistic and captivating,
Yeah.
but it's ultimately an illusion, just playing on the screen of our consciousness.
But then the book goes on to warn that attachment can turn spectators into prisoners.
That is interesting.
What do you think about that?
Well, what do you make of it?
I think they're saying that if we become too attached to these roles and storylines,
The divine CGI?
yeah, all those divine CGI elements,
Yeah.
we forget our true nature as the screen. And that's how we get trapped by all those societal expectations and pressures.
That's a very perceptive interpretation.
Yeah.
If we over-identify with those temporary roles we play in life, the employee, the heartbroken lover, the struggling artist,
Yeah.
we really risk losing sight of that unchanging essence.
That's beneath it all.
Right. And that's where detachment comes in.
So detachment is more about awareness,
Yes.
recognizing the difference between the temporary
Right.
and the eternal, rather than suppressing emotions
Exactly.
or disengaging from life.
It's about finding that balance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Between fully experiencing life with all its richness and complexity, while at the same time remembering that we're something more, something beyond all the ever-changing drama that's happening on the screen of our perception.
Okay, this is all pretty mind-blowing stuff, but there's this part in the book that's kind of hard to wrap my head around. The Brotherhood seems to suggest that even our suffering is a deliberate part of this divine script.
Oh, yeah.
How can we make sense of that?
Well, it does clash with the idea of a benevolent cosmic force, doesn't it?
It does.
This is definitely a concept that needs some careful thought. The Atlantean perspective on suffering isn't about a personal God punishing us or testing us.
Yeah.
It's way broader than that. Remember, they see life as a movie projected by this boundless consciousness that's experiencing itself through every single part of existence.
Mm.
And that includes the pain and tragedy right alongside the joy and the love.
So every emotion, every sensation just adds to the richness of the whole tapestry.
That's right. They even use the example of Jesus' crucifixion.
Wow.
And it's not about glorifying pain. It's more about acknowledging it as one piece within this vast cosmic narrative.
So how do we reconcile this idea of a divine script?
With all its suffering.
Yeah,
Yep.
with our human desire for happiness and well-being. I mean, are we supposed to just passively accept whatever hardships come our way?
No, they're definitely not advocating for passive resignation. In fact, they encourage us to rewrite the script.
Rewrite the script.
Not by changing external events, though,
Right.
but by transforming our internal perception of them.
So we become active participants in shaping our own experience.
Yes, even when things are tough.
But how do we actually do that? I'm curious to know what kind of tools or practices they recommend.
Well, that's where we get into some fascinating and practical techniques. And that's what we're going to dig into right after this.
Okay, so we've heard that the Atlantean Brotherhood has some pretty wild ideas about lifetime and suffering.
Right.
But if life's a movie, like they say, how do we actually live differently, knowing this?
Well, the book outlines 3 specific ways that they actually practiced. It's really fascinating to consider how these ancient teachings could still be relevant to us now.
I'm all ears. What's the first one?
All right, so the first method is what they call awaken the projectionist.
Well, I've been the projectionist.
And now they're not talking about an actual person in a booth.
Right.
This is about, tapping into the part of ourselves that's beyond our thoughts, beyond that mental chatter, the constant stream of thoughts and emotions. And they believed that meditation was a key to this awakening.
So instead of trying to completely quiet the mind, which can feel pretty impossible,
Right.
it's more about recognizing that we are not our thoughts.
Exactly.
We're the awareness behind them. Like,
Yeah.
we're the silent observer of the movie, not the characters on the screen.
That's it. And what's so cool about this is that there are tons of different ways to cultivate this awareness. The Atlanteans might have focused on traditional meditation, but we can explore whatever feels right for us. Things like mindfulness techniques, breath work, even just being out in nature. All those can help us connect with that deeper sense of self.
This actually makes meditation seem less intimidating,
Right.
It's not about emptying your mind completely,
Right.
but more about finding practices that help us become more present, more aware of the observer inside.
Exactly. And it really speaks to the Brotherhood's focus on playing around with these things rather than sticking to any strict rules.
Yeah.
They were all about finding joy in the process of experimenting and figuring out what works for you.
I like that. Okay, so awaken the projectionist. Check. What's the second method for rewriting the script?
Okay, number 2 is to laugh at the plot twists.
Laugh at the plot twists.
Yeah. So essentially they're telling us to embrace the unexpected, all those curveballs life throws at us.
Oh, yeah?
To find the humor, the lightness, even when things aren't going according to plan.
Okay, I can see how that could be helpful, but it also seems kind of tricky. How are we supposed to laugh when things are really difficult? Or painful?
That's true.
It's like, are we supposed to minimize real suffering?
No, and that's a valid concern. It's really important to remember that they're not saying we should deny or suppress our emotions.
Okay.
This isn't about toxic positivity
Right.
or pretending everything's fine when it's not. It's more about shifting our perspective.
Yeah.
Finding that little bit of space between what we're experiencing and how we react to it.
So instead of getting totally swept up in the emotional drama,
Yes.
we try to step back.
Yeah.
Maybe even see the absurdity in it.
Exactly. Like imagine you're watching a movie and the main character suddenly gets fired. You might feel surprised, maybe a little sad for them, but you also know it's just part of the story. It doesn't reflect on you personally.
Right.
And having that perspective can be so helpful in dealing with all the ups and downs life throws at us.
Okay. I'm starting to see how this could build resilience,
Right.
but I'm still not sure about finding humor in really tough situations. Like, what if it's not just a job loss, but a serious illness or someone dying?
Right.
Can we really laugh at the plot twist then?
That's a really good question.
Right.
And I think that's where the line between detachment and just plain denial gets blurry.
Yeah.
There's a big difference between finding some humor in the midst of chaos
Right?
and using it as a way to avoid feeling the tough stuff.
Okay.
Grief, loss, pain, those are all part of being human. We need to honor those feelings.
So it's not about bypassing or suppressing our emotions,
No.
but about finding a way to hold them lightly,
Yeah.
to recognize that they're temporary states, like
Yeah.
clouds, passing through the sky.
Yes. And I think that's where the first method, awakening the projectionist, is so important. When we can connect with that deeper sense of self, that unchanging awareness,
Yeah.
it gives us a more solid foundation.
To weather the storms.
Exactly, when those inevitable storms come along.
It's like we're acknowledging the storm, feeling its full force, but also remembering that we are not the storm. We're something bigger, more expansive.
Beautifully put. And I think that sense of spaciousness, of not being completely overwhelmed by the drama, can really make a difference in how we handle those tough times.
For sure. Okay, so we've covered awaken the projectionists and laugh at the plot twists. What's the third way the Atlantean Brotherhood recommends for rewriting our life's script?
Okay, so the third method is in some ways the simplest and yet the most profound. They call it merging with the light.
Merging with the light.
Yeah.
Okay, I like the sound of that. What does that actually mean, practically speaking?
Well, remember that analogy we talked about with the film reel and the light source?
Uh-huh.
The light represents our true essence, our unchanging divine nature.
Mm.
And merging with the light means allowing that essence to shine through us, completely unfiltered and uninhibited. It's about letting go of the ego's need to control the story,
Yeah.
and surrendering to the flow of life, trusting that we're right where we need to be.
So it's almost like stepping out of the director's chair and just becoming the light itself, letting it illuminate every scene of the movie, even the dark and messy ones.
That's a great way to put it. And this doesn't mean we become passive or inactive.
Yeah.
It's more about aligning our actions with our true nature,
Okay.
acting from a place of love, compassion, authenticity.
This reminds me of what some spiritual traditions call enlightenment or awakening.
Yes.
But the Atlantean perspective seems to have this sense of playfulness and joy that I find really appealing.
I agree. And I think that's one of those beautiful things about their teachings. They didn't see spirituality as this somber, serious thing. They celebrated life in all its forms. They saw that divine spark in everything from a sunset to a good laugh. They didn't pray, they played.
I love that. It's like they're inviting us to join this cosmic dance,
Yes.
to embrace the full spectrum of human experience with a sense of wonder and delight.
Exactly. And I think that message really resonates today, especially with so many people searching for meaning and purpose. The Atlantean teachings offer a path to liberation, not through dogma or rigid beliefs, but through awareness, embracing the unexpected and letting our true nature shine.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation. I feel like we've barely scratched the surface.
Me too.
But before we wrap up, I'm curious about something. The Brotherhood's perspective seems to challenge traditional religious views in some pretty fundamental ways.
Oh, it absolutely does. Their core message is that we are not sinners in need of redemption, but expressions of the divine, inherently worthy and whole. And this idea, eliminates the need for intermediaries between people and the divine, which can be very disruptive to traditional power structures.
And that brings us to this really powerful line in the book that really stood out to me. Waxhira, who I'm assuming is a key figure in the Atlantean Brotherhood, says this: "Try and observe everything without craving or aversion."
Wow.
What a challenge. What do you think he meant by that?
That's a profound statement. And I think it really sums up the essence of the Atlantean teachings. It's an invitation to observe life without judgment, without getting caught up in all our desires and fears.
To just be present with what is.
Exactly. Without needing to change it or control it.
And I imagine that practice could be both incredibly liberating and incredibly difficult in today's world,
Oh, absolutely.
where we're constantly told what to want, what to fear, how to be.
Right. It's like they're saying, step out of the drama, become the observer, and just see what happens.
And that's where the real magic is.
I think so. When we can detach from our usual ways of reacting and just observe with curiosity and openness, it opens us up to a whole new level of understanding and experience.
All right, so welcome back to our deep dive into how the Atlanteans saw life. It's been a pretty wild ride so far, huh?
It has.
We've explored some really out there ideas like time being a spiral, life as a movie, and even suffering as a planned part of some divine script.
Yeah.
But now for the practical stuff. How do we actually use these teachings in everyday life?
Right. It can't all be metaphors and philosophy.
Okay.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, you're absolutely right. It's one thing to talk about these concepts, but the real change comes when we put them into practice. The Atlanteans weren't just thinkers sitting around.
Yeah.
They were mystics who actually tried to live by these ideas in their daily lives.
So let's get specific. How do we take these big abstract ideas and actually make them work for us in the real world?
Right. Where do we even begin.
Yeah.
Well, remember those three methods the Atlantean Brotherhood talked about?
Uh-huh.
Awaken the projectionists,
Right.
laugh at the plot twists,
Yeah.
and merge with the light.
Mm.
These aren't just cool sayings. They're actually tools we can use
Yeah.
in our own lives.
Okay, so let's start with awakening the projectionist. We talked about how this is about meditation and becoming more aware,
Right.
but for a lot of people, meditation sounds pretty intimidating or even boring. What advice do you have for people who struggle with that?
Oh, yeah. The great thing about the Atlantean approach is that they're all about playfulness and experimentation. They didn't believe in rigid rules or
Hmm.
one size fits all. They encouraged people to find what works for them, to
Mm.
find their own path to that awakening.
So it's not about forcing yourself to sit in lotus pose for hours
Yeah.
chanting.
No, not necessarily. Remember, they called it playing, not praying. So if traditional meditation isn't your thing, find something that is. Maybe it's dancing or painting,
Yeah.
gardening, being in nature, listening to music, anything that gets you out of your head
Yeah.
and into that flow state where you're just totally present and absorbed in the moment.
That makes it seem a lot more accessible.
Right.
It's about finding the things that help us connect with that quiet place inside, beyond all the thoughts and feelings that are always swirling around.
Exactly. And once we've kind of awakened the projectionist, we can start to laugh at the plot twists.
Right.
And it doesn't mean ignoring the challenges we face. It's more about not getting so caught up in the drama
Yeah.
and seeing things from a different perspective.
Okay, I'm starting to get that, but it's still a bit vague for me. Can you give some real-life examples of how we might actually do this?
Sure. Imagine you're stuck in traffic on the way to a super important meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of getting all stressed out, you could choose to see it as like a funny little detour,
Mm.
a chance to practice patience, or maybe listen to that podcast you've been wanting to hear.
Right, right.
Or let's say you have a setback in your career. Instead of letting it totally crush you, you could see it as a plot twist that's leading you somewhere new.
So it's about changing the story in our minds, finding the
Right.
humor in the unexpected.
Yes. And using those challenges as chances to learn and grow.
Hmm.
And the more we practice this, the more resilient we become.
Yeah.
We even start to find those ups and downs amusing. We realize that even the hardest situations often have hidden gifts.
This is starting to click for me, but what about those really huge challenges, Like when someone close to us dies, or we're going through deep grief. Can we really laugh at the plot twist then?
That's a great question. And honestly, there are times when finding humor just feels impossible.
Yeah.
When the pain is just too much
Right.
and the grief is overwhelming. In those moments, it's not about forcing ourselves to laugh
Okay.
or pretending everything's fine. It's about allowing ourselves to feel those emotions fully
Mm.
with compassion and without judging ourselves.
So it's not about ignoring our feelings or denying the pain, but about holding them lightly, knowing they're temporary.
Right.
Like clouds that will eventually move on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's when the practice of awakening the projectionist becomes even more important. When we can connect with that deeper self.
Yeah.
It gives us something solid to hold on to when those storms hit.
It's like we're acknowledging the storm, feeling its power, but remembering we're not the storm itself. We're something bigger.
I love that. And that sense of spaciousness,
Yeah.
not being totally swallowed up by the drama,
Yeah.
that can make such a difference. And that brings us to the third method, merging with the light.
Right, right. Remind me what that means again.
Remember the analogy with the film reel and the light source?
Uh-huh.
The light represents our true essence,
Mm.
our unchanging divine self. And merging with the light means letting that essence shine through, unfiltered and free. It's about surrendering to the flow of life, trusting that we're exactly where we're supposed to be.
So it's like stepping out of the director's chair and becoming the light itself.
Yes.
Letting it light up every scene, even the tough ones.
You got it. And this doesn't mean we become passive. It's more about aligning our actions with our true nature,
Okay.
acting from love,
Hmm.
compassion, and just being real.
I can see how this would be really powerful, but how do we actually merge with the light in everyday life? What does that look like?
It can show up in all kinds of ways. Maybe it's being kind to a stranger, or going after a creative passion, or just being present with the people you love. It's about letting go of the need to control everything and trusting that the universe has got this. Choosing love over fear,
Right.
joy over resentment, forgiveness over bitterness.
That's beautiful. It sounds like it's a lifelong practice,
It is.
continually trying to be our best selves. But as we wrap up this deep dive, I do want to acknowledge that this whole perspective While empowering, it might also raise some concerns for people. What are some things to watch out for when exploring these teachings?
That's a really good point. One thing to be careful of is using detachment as an excuse to avoid responsibility
Yeah.
or to bottle up difficult emotions.
Mm.
Remember, true detachment is about finding that balance between feeling and observing,
Right.
between being in the world but also recognizing our own wholeness.
So it's not about becoming cold and uncaring.
Exactly.
It's about that middle ground between acceptance and action, surrender, and
You
responsibility.
nailed it.
Mm.
And another potential pitfall is taking the life is a movie analogy too literally.
Mm.
We need to remember it's just a metaphor.
Right.
It's not about denying real suffering or the importance of working to make the world better.
So it's not about being passive spectators watching a pre-written script.
Oh.
It's about recognizing that we have the power to co-create a more compassionate and just world.
Yes. The Atlantean teachings really emphasize personal responsibility and
Okay.
taking action. We might not be able to control what happens to us, but we can choose how we respond,
Right.
how we treat others, and how we contribute to the greater good.
I appreciate you bringing up those points. It's so important to approach these teachings with an open mind, but also a critical one.
I agree. These are powerful ideas that could really change us. But they're not a quick fix or a guarantee of happiness. It's a journey of self-discovery with its own challenges and rewards.
Well, thank you so much for taking us on this journey into the Atlantean perspective on life. It's been fascinating.
It's been my pleasure. And remember, the real journey starts now.
Yeah,
Take these ideas, play around with them, and see what they mean to you.
exactly. As we go about our lives, let's try to see the world through that lens of playful detachment. Recognizing that divine spark within ourselves and everyone we meet. After all, who knows, maybe this cosmic movie is just getting started. And that wraps up our deep dive into the Atlantean perspective on life. Thanks for being with us, and until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep writing your own unique script.